The 1955 Peterbilt 281 from Duel wasn't just a truck. It was a mechanical monster that terrorized Dennis Weaver for 90 minutes of pure automotive horror.
I'd like to report a truck driver that's been endangering my life.
Spielberg auditioned 7 different trucks before choosing this specific Peterbilt because its round headlights and split windshield created what he called the perfect face of evil. The production team spent 3 days making the truck uglier, adding layers of oil, dead insects, and actual roadkill to the grille. But why did they destroy the original truck by driving it off a real cliff? How did a simple oil tanker become Hollywood's most terrifying vehicle? And what happened to the mysterious truck driver whose face we never see? These are 20 weird facts about the trucker's 1955 Peterbilt 281 from Duel that will blow your mind. Number 20, the identity crisis. Here's where things get confusing right off the bat. The main villain truck is widely known as a 1955 Peterbilt 281, but debates have raged for decades about whether it was actually a 1957 model. The confusion stems from Peterbilt's production records being incomplete and the fact that minimal changes occurred between model years. Film historians have pored over frame-by-frame analysis comparing grille patterns, hood ornaments, and cab details. The truck's registration papers were apparently lost during production. Even Spielberg himself has given conflicting information in different interviews over the years. What makes it worse? The backup trucks used were definitely from different years, including a confirmed 1960 model that survived filming. Some experts claim the hero truck had components from multiple year models, creating a Frankenstein's monster of Peterbilt parts. The debate continues to this day, with truck enthusiasts analyzing every visible bolt and rivet. One thing everyone agrees on, whatever year it was absolutely terrifying. Number 19, the tag axle deception. The production pulled a clever trick that most viewers never noticed. The villain truck was actually a single-drive 281 model, not the heavier dual-drive 351 it appeared to be. They added what's called a tag axle, essentially a fake second-drive axle that doesn't actually power the wheels. This was done to make the truck look more massive and intimidating, like a heavyweight road monster instead of a standard highway hauler. The deception worked perfectly. On camera, the truck appeared to be a much heavier, more powerful beast than it actually was. The tag axle added visual weight without the mechanical complexity of a true tandem drive system. This also made the truck easier to control during the high-speed chase sequences. Real truckers watching the film often spot this detail immediately, noting how the rear wheels spin differently than they would on a genuine 351. The fake axle was so well integrated that even some of the film crew didn't realize it wasn't functional. It's a perfect example of movie magic, creating the illusion of power without the substance. Number 18, the Union Oil origins. Before terrorizing Dennis Weaver on California highways, the villain truck lived a mundane life hauling petroleum products. It was originally a Union Oil tanker tractor, painted in the company's distinctive orange and blue livery. The production team found it at a truck graveyard in the desert, already showing its age, but still mechanically sound. They stripped away all the Union Oil branding and the bright corporate colors, revealing the weathered metal underneath. The transformation from corporate hauler to anonymous predator was deliberate. Spielberg wanted a truck with no identity, no company logos, no distinguishing marks except pure menace. Some of the old paint showed through in places, creating that mottled, rusty appearance that made it look like it had been prowling highways for decades. The tanker history explains why the truck had such a long wheelbase and heavy-duty frame. It was built to haul thousands of gallons of volatile fuel. Ironically, a vehicle designed to deliver energy to keep America moving became a symbol of vehicular terror. Number 17, the multiple truck mystery. Most people don't realize that Duel used multiple trucks, not just one villain vehicle. The primary 1955 Peterbilt 281 was the hero truck used for most close-ups and beauty shots. A 1960 Peterbilt served as the main stunt double, handling the more dangerous sequences. For the theatrical release, they added scenes with completely different trucks, including a distinctive Peterbilt 351 with a different grille design. Each truck was modified to look as similar as possible, but eagle-eyed viewers can spot the differences. The window configurations vary slightly between trucks, the rust patterns don't match perfectly from scene to scene, even the license plates sometimes change positions. The production used at least 4 different trucks throughout filming, possibly more. Some were wrecked during stunts and cannibalized for parts. The continuity department worked overtime trying to match the dirt, grime, and damage between vehicles. This multiple truck approach was necessary because Spielberg was pushing these machines to their limits, and mechanical failures were constant. The fact that most viewers never noticed the switches is a testament to the film's editing and the matching department's skill. Number 16. The Caterpillar engine problems. Under that menacing hood sat a Caterpillar 1673B turbocharged diesel engine, a powerhouse on paper but a nightmare during production. This engine was notorious for overheating, especially when pushed hard in the California desert heat. The film crew had to stop shooting multiple times per day to let the engine cool down. The turbocharger, while adding power, created additional heat that the truck's cooling system couldn't handle during extended high-speed runs. Mechanics were on standby constantly, checking temperatures and adding coolant between takes. The engine's distinctive turbo whine added to the truck's menacing presence, but it came at a cost. Several scenes had to be shot in short bursts, because the engine would start smoking after just a few minutes of hard driving. The production went through gallons of engine oil and coolant daily. At one point, the engine seized completely, requiring an emergency rebuild that shut down production for 2 days. Despite these problems, Spielberg loved the sound the engine made, that deep guttural roar that seemed to come from hell itself. The mechanical issues actually added to the film's tension, with the crew never knowing when the truck might break down during a crucial shot. Number 15. The 13-speed transmission terror. The truck's Fuller RTO 913 13-speed transmission was a beast that required expert handling. Most car drivers can't even imagine dealing with 13 forward gears, but this complex system was necessary to handle the Caterpillar engine's narrow power band. The stunt drivers had to be specially trained on this transmission. It wasn't just a matter of shifting up and down. The Fuller used a unique shift pattern with a range selector that effectively gave you 2 transmissions in one. You had to know exactly when to split gears and when to skip them entirely. During chase scenes, the drivers were constantly working the shifter, trying to keep the engine in its power band while maintaining speed. Several stunt drivers refused to work on the film after test driving the truck. The clutch was incredibly heavy, requiring massive leg strength to operate repeatedly. One driver complained his left leg was cramping so badly after a day of shooting that he couldn't walk properly. The transmission made horrible grinding noises when shifted incorrectly, and these sounds made it into the film, adding to the truck's mechanical monster personality. The complexity of operating this transmission while performing precision stunt driving cannot be overstated. Number 14. The speed limit lie. Despite looking like it could run Dennis Weaver's Plymouth Valiant off the road at any speed, the terrifying Peterbilt had a dirty little secret. It wasn't actually that fast. The truck's real top speed was between 60 and 70 miles per hour, depending on conditions. This created a massive problem for Spielberg, who needed to show the truck keeping up with and overtaking a car that could easily do 85-90 mph. The solution involved clever camera work, undercranking the film to create the illusion of greater speed, and shooting on downhill grades whenever possible. They removed the truck's governor to squeeze out every possible mile per hour. Even then, many chase scenes required the Plymouth to slow down artificially to let the truck catch up. The speed differential was hidden through editing and camera angles. In reality, any decent car from 1971 could have simply floored it and left the Peterbilt in the dust. But Spielberg understood that terror isn't about reality, it's about perception. Through masterful filmmaking, he made a relatively slow truck feel like an unstoppable force of mechanical fury. Number 13. The face of evil design. Spielberg's decision to cast the 1955 Peterbilt wasn't random. He specifically wanted a truck with a face. The round headlights became eyes, the split windshield created a furrowed brow, and the grille formed a grimacing mouth. During pre-production, Spielberg literally walked around trucks holding up his hands to frame their faces, looking for the perfect expression of mechanical malevolence. The Peterbilt 281's design was already intimidating, but the production team enhanced it further. They adjusted the headlight aim to create a slight squint. The bumper was bent slightly to form a more aggressive sneer. Chrome pieces were removed or dulled to eliminate any friendly shine. The hood ornament was deliberately cocked at an angle that suggested forward momentum even when stationary. Spielberg drew inspiration from monster movies, treating the truck like a creature rather than a vehicle. He even referred to different angles as showing the truck's mood: angry from the front, predatory from the side, triumphant from below. This anthropomorphization was key to making an inanimate object feel alive and malevolent. No computer graphics needed, just brilliant visual storytelling. Number 12. The license plate collection. One of the creepiest details most viewers miss on first viewing, the truck's front bumper is decorated with multiple license plates from different states. This wasn't just random set decoration. Spielberg wanted to imply that this truck had been hunting drivers across America, collecting trophies from its victims like a serial killer. The plates included California, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, and several others, all weathered and dirty. Each plate told a silent story of another driver who didn't make it. The arrangement wasn't symmetrical, they were attached haphazardly, as if added one by one over years of highway hunting. Some plates were bent and damaged, suggesting violent encounters. The prop department actually researched which states the truck could have realistically traveled through on major trucking routes. They wanted the collection to make geographical sense. During filming, they occasionally rearranged the plates between shots, creating subtle continuity errors that somehow made the truck feel even more unsettling. This detail was never explained in dialogue, just a visual hint at a much larger, darker story. How many drivers had this truck stalked before Dennis Weaver? The license plates suggest dozens, maybe hundreds. Number 11, the Progressive Decay. The truck got progressively uglier throughout filming, and this wasn't by accident. The production team had a detailed decay schedule that specified exactly how much additional grime, damage, and filth should be added for each day of story time. They started with the truck looking merely old and dirty, but by the climax it appeared positively diseased. Fresh oil was splattered on the engine compartment daily, allowed to run and streak naturally. Dead insects weren't just glued on, they collected real bugs from the filming locations and mashed them into the grill. Road tar was applied to the wheels and undercarriage. They even used real animal blood from a local butcher to create certain stains. The windshield got progressively more cracked and dirty, with new chips added between scenes. Rust effects were enhanced with special paints that oxidized in real time. By the end of filming, the truck was so filthy that the transportation department refused to drive it on public roads without washing it first. This gradual transformation paralleled the escalating violence of the story. As the truck became more aggressive, it also became more physically repulsive. Number 10, the mysterious driver. The truck driver's identity remains one of cinema's great mysteries because we never see his face clearly. Officially, stunt driver Kerry Lofton performed most of the driving, but Spielberg deliberately kept the driver anonymous. The character was credited simply as the truck driver, with no actor name attached. This wasn't just a budget decision. Spielberg wanted the truck itself to be the villain, not the human operating it. We see only glimpses. An arm waving goodbye, boots stepping down, a silhouette in the cafe. The driver wore the same plaid shirt and jeans throughout filming, becoming more an extension of the truck than a separate character. Multiple people actually sat in the driver's seat during filming, including several stunt drivers and even crew members for certain shots. Spielberg rejected any shot that showed too much of the driver's face or gave him too much personality. In his vision, the driver was merely the truck's brain, not its soul. This anonymity made the truck scarier. It wasn't driven by human motivation, but by pure mechanical malevolence. The decision influenced countless future films where vehicles themselves became the true antagonists. And before our last fact, don't forget to hit subscribe for more incredible movie vehicle secrets and comment below if you knew any of these facts about Duel's terrifying truck. Number 9. The TV movie origins. Duel started life as a humble TV movie, which explains some of its production quirks. The original cut was only 74 minutes long, shot in just 13 days for ABC's Movie of the Week. When the film's quality became apparent, Universal decided to release it theatrically overseas. But there was a problem. Theatrical films needed to be at least 90 minutes. Spielberg had to return and shoot additional scenes, including encounters with other vehicles like a school bus and railroad crossing sequence. The new scenes featured different trucks because the original Peterbilt was no longer available. This created continuity challenges that sharp-eyed viewers can spot. The theatrical editions were shot on a bigger budget with better equipment, making them visually distinct from the TV footage. Some international versions included all the extra scenes, while others cut different combinations. The success of the theatrical release in Europe convinced Universal to eventually release it in American theaters. What started as a $450,000 TV movie became Spielberg's calling card to Hollywood. The additional truck scenes, while necessary for length, actually diluted the pure truck versus car dynamic that made the original so powerful. Number 8, the backup truck, Survivor. While the hero 1955 Peterbilt met its doom at the bottom of a canyon, the 1960 backup truck survived and lives on today. After filming Wrapped, this truck was sold to a private collector who had no idea of its Hollywood history. It changed hands several times, working as an actual commercial truck for years. In the 1990s, a movie vehicle enthusiast recognized it from production photographs and verified its identity through chassis numbers. The truck was restored to match its dual appearance, complete with the correct rust patterns and grime. However, purists debate whether it should have been restored to pristine condition or left in its weathered state. The survivor truck has appeared at numerous car shows and was featured in the 2003 film Torque. It's been photographed more than any other movie truck except perhaps Optimus Prime. Owners report that people instinctively move out of its way on highways even though it's now painted and polished. The truck commands impressive prices when it occasionally comes up for sale. Its survival provides the only chance for fans to experience the real Duel truck in person, even if it's not the primary villain vehicle. Number 7. The cliff death scene. The truck's dramatic death plunge off a cliff was accomplished without special effects. They simply drove a real truck off a real cliff. The location was Mystery Mesa in Soledad Canyon, though it's also known as Vasquez Canyon Road. The stunt required incredible precision because they only had one truck and one chance to get it right. They couldn't afford to buy another matching Peterbilt if the stunt failed. The truck was reinforced with a roll cage to protect the stunt driver, who would bail out at the last second. Except there was no stunt driver. They used a complex system of cables and pulleys to steer the truck remotely. The mechanism failed partially during the shot, causing the truck to veer slightly off course. You can see this in the film. The truck doesn't hit the cliff exactly where intended. The explosion was real using actual diesel fuel and dynamite. The wreckage was left at the bottom of the canyon for years before being removed. Local hikers reported finding pieces of the truck as late as the 1980s. The cliff is now a pilgrimage site for Duel fans, though accessing it requires permission from property owners. Number 6. The audition process. Before settling on the 1955 Peterbilt, Spielberg auditioned 7 different trucks for the villain role. He visited truck graveyards and rental companies across Southern California, looking for the perfect mechanical antagonist. Each candidate was photographed from multiple angles and tested on camera. The other finalists included a Freightliner, a Kenworth, and a Mack with an intimidating bulldog hood ornament. Spielberg made his decision partly based on how each truck looked in the rearview mirror. The Peterbilt's round headlights created the most unsettling reflection. He also considered the sound each truck made, recording their engines and horns. The Peterbilt's horn had a particularly aggressive blast that sealed the deal. Some rejected trucks were kept as backup vehicles or used for parts. One Kenworth that didn't make the cut later appeared in another TV movie. Spielberg's meticulous casting process for an inanimate object showed his understanding that in visual storytelling, every element matters. The runner-up trucks might have created completely different films. The Peterbilt's specific presence defined Duel's unique terror. Number 5. The primer paint debate. Truck enthusiasts have argued for decades about the Peterbilt's paint job. Was it primer, suggesting an unfinished restoration? Was it weathered original paint? Or was it deliberately painted to look rusty? The truth is surprisingly complex. The truck started with its original paint already faded and patched. The art department then added layers of different primers and rust effect paints. They wanted it to look like someone had started to restore the truck years ago, then abandoned it. Different panels were treated differently to create visual variety. Some areas got red oxide primer, others gray, creating that mottled appearance. Real rust was accelerated using salt water and acid treatments. The final look was achieved through at least 7 different paint products. Under certain lighting, you can see the different layers and textures. This paint mystery adds to the truck's mystique. Like its driver, even its surface appearance defies clear identification. The debate continues because the surviving documentation doesn't clearly specify the exact paint process. Even crew members have given conflicting accounts over the years about what was paint and what was natural decay. Number 4. The theatrical extra trucks. When Spielberg returned to shoot additional scenes for the theatrical release, he had to use different trucks because the original was destroyed. The most notable addition was a Peterbilt 351 used in the railroad crossing sequence. This truck had a completely different grille design. Vertical bars instead of the 281's horizontal pattern. They tried to match it to the original with paint and grime, but the differences are obvious. Another truck, possibly a white or auto car, appears briefly in a tunnel sequence. These additional trucks created what fans call the Duel fleet, a phantom convoy of similar but distinct vehicles. The editing tried to hide the differences, but frame-by-frame analysis reveals the truth. Some European versions of the film feature extended scenes with these alternate trucks. The additional vehicles diluted the original's purity. Instead of one relentless pursuer, there were now multiple trucks. Spielberg later expressed regret about some of these additions, feeling they disrupted the film's elegant simplicity. However, these scenes helped establish his ability to create suspense with minimal resources, leading directly to his hiring for Jaws. Number 3. The Vasquez Canyon. Mystery. The cliff where the truck meets its doom has become legendary among film locations, but its exact identity remains disputed. Most sources identify it as Mystery Mesa in Vasquez Canyon, north of Los Angeles. However, some crew members insist it was shot at a different location entirely. The confusion stems from multiple names for the same general area and changes in land ownership over the years. The specific cliff face has been altered by erosion and development. GPS coordinates circulated online don't always match the actual filming location. Local film historians have tried to match background mountains and rock formations with mixed results. The area has been used for countless westerns and action films, making it difficult to identify specific spots. Property owners have become protective due to trespassing fans seeking the exact spot. The cliff's height has been exaggerated over the years. It's impressive, but not as massive as the film makes it appear. Camera angles and lens choices made a 40-foot drop look like 100 feet. Whether Mystery Mesa or somewhere nearby, the location remains a powerful symbol of the truck's ultimate defeat. Number 2. The mechanical failures. The production was plagued by constant mechanical problems beyond just the overheating engine. The transmission failed completely twice, requiring overnight rebuilds. The brakes, already marginal due to the truck's age, were destroyed by the constant hard stops required for filming. They went through 3 complete sets of brake shoes and drums. The steering box developed a dangerous amount of play, making precise driving nearly impossible. Power steering fluid leaked constantly, leaving puddles at every location. The radiator cracked from the heat stress, requiring field repairs with epoxy. Tires blew out regularly from the heat on hard driving. The electrical system was a nightmare. Lights would fail randomly, requiring constant rewiring. The fuel system couldn't handle the demands of high-speed running, causing fuel starvation during crucial shots. By the end of production, the truck was held together with wire, tape, and prayers. The mechanical failures actually helped Spielberg. They forced him to shoot creatively, using the truck's limitations to build suspense. The struggling, dying truck became even more frightening, like a wounded animal fighting to the death. Number 1. The real speed secret. The scariest shots in Duel weren't achieved through speed, but through proximity. The truck often drove just inches from Dennis Weaver's Plymouth, creating heart-stopping near misses. Insurance companies had forbidden actual contact between vehicles, but Spielberg pushed the limits. Weaver did much of his own driving, despite having no stunt training. The actor's genuine fear reactions weren't all acting. The truck was legitimately terrifying at close range. They used long lenses to compress distance, making safe gaps look like deadly near misses. The truck's size allowed it to fill the entire rear window of the Plymouth, creating claustrophobia. Some shots were achieved by having both vehicles on trailer rigs, allowing perfect control. Other scenes used undercranked cameras, shooting at 18 or 20 frames per second instead of 24. When played back at normal speed, everything appeared faster. The sound design amplified the effect with the truck's engine noise overwhelming the cars. The real magic was in making 45 amp mouthers feel like 90 through pure filmmaking craft. Spielberg proved you don't need actual danger to create the feeling of mortal terror. The frame-by-frame transformation. Perhaps the weirdest fact about the Duel truck is something only obsessive fans have discovered through frame-by-frame analysis. The truck literally changes between shots in ways that go beyond simple continuity errors. The rust patterns shift and morph like living tissue. Damage appears and disappears between cuts. The license plates don't just move, they sometimes change states entirely. In one sequence, the truck gains an entire extra light bar that vanishes 2 shots later. These aren't mistakes, they're the result of using multiple trucks and shooting out of sequence over weeks, but the effect creates something unintended and brilliant. The truck becomes less like a machine and more like a shape-shifting demon. Its unstable appearance makes it feel supernatural, beyond the laws of physics. Spielberg embraced these inconsistencies rather than trying to hide them. He understood that perfect continuity mattered less than emotional impact. The truck's metamorphosis throughout the film mirrors its evolution from highway bully to supernatural force. In the end, the 1955 Peterbilt 281 transcended its mechanical origins to become cinema's first vehicle villain, a tradition that continues in everything from Christine to Cars. Its legacy proves that with the right director, even a rusty old truck can become an immortal movie monster.